Hey everybody, and welcome to today's video where we're going to try and model out a really nice looking knife. The knife I'm talking about is actually something I've seen on the internet. It's really cool looking thing. Let me show you guys. And this is the knife I'm talking about. It kind of shuns away from what you would consider a knife where it's simple blade, because this one is basically turned, so it's kind of twisted, and it has 3 points. Now, the name of this knife is either Jagdkommando or Jagdkommando, depending on whoever is saying it. So if I got it wrong, I'm sorry. So let's continue and see how we can model this. Here are a few more images of that knife. As you can see, a really nice and cool looking knife. All right, here's another one, and here's like a few more. All right, so let's proceed and see how we can model a knife like this. What I've done is I've only set up a blueprint at the background, so I can have something to base my knife off of. I'm going to select it, right click, go to object properties. In the general, I'm going to go freeze and show frozen in gray. I'm going to tick it off. So I don't want it to be gray, just tick it off and click OK. So now I can start working. Modeling something like this can be a bit tricky, but if you start simply by dividing it into the 3 parts that it's basically made of, which is the blade, the hilt, and this back cap, you can try and model it one by one. So let's start from the most complicated part, which would be the blade. Now, since I know for a fact that this knife has 3 sides or 3 blades, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a spline. And for a spline, I'm going to take an engon and just click and drag one engon so I can get at least the width of the blade. So something like this. Now, like we said, it's a 3-sided knife, so give it 3 sides. Awesome. Now, rotate it 90 degrees and move it into place, still about here. Now, we got this, which is going to be our blade. We need to get it so it has some height. The height would be an easy extrude modifier till about somewhere around here. As you can see, as it's approaching the end, it's starting to taper in. Now, here's how we're going to deal with the tapering part. We're going to drop on an edit poly, select our top polygon, and extrude one more time. Now manually I'm just gonna pull it wherever I need it to go to, still about here. Now I want to see my blueprint on the bottom, so I'm gonna press Alt X so it goes into see-through mode. So I'm gonna select all of my vertices here and click on collapse. What this is going to do, it's going to make them all collapse into a center point, which will give me my tip of the blade. And there we go. We got our base. Alright, so now, here's the thing. Since this knife has a symmetry on the 3 sides, I can only work on one side and then use symmetry to project all the details on the other side. So I'm going to select these 2 sides and I'm going to delete them. And what we are left with is this polygon, but as you can notice, here we have a bit of an angle, which is exactly what we need to get it to use the symmetry correctly. So let's start with this. Now the first thing that we want to do is take a look and observe the images that we have. For example, if I take a look at this image, I'm going to see that as this is the blade, we have this inset, and that inset is dipping inwards. So let's see how we can get that incorporated. So I'm going to select all of my polygons, or basically both of my polygons, hit Inset, and make it so it's about so big until it comes to the edges here, and click OK. Now, one more thing that I want to do is I want to hit Inset one more time, and this is going to basically give me the lower portion. So with this, now I can come over from the side and move it inwards. So this is going to give me that depth that we see here. All right. Now, if I leave it off like this and I apply a turbo smooth, I'm going to get this portion just breaking all up, which is not what we want to have. Instead, we want to hold this edge. So I'm going to select my entire loop. So just press one of these edges, go loop, and now I'm going to chamfer it so I get a bit more geometry to hold this edge. So 2.5. All right. So this should help with holding that edge. Now the other thing is, if we don't want this to come in like it is, like it's pulling it outwards here, I can basically go ahead and cut this like this, and from here cut it to this side. But that is going to make a different kind of problem. So for now, I'm gonna go back and okay, let's see where we go from here. What I want to do here is I want to capture this form right here. As you can see, this one has a bit of a bend here. So the way to do that would be to select this middle part, hit ring, which is going to go all the way up to here. Since here we have a triangle, it won't go over to the end, and hit the connect. It's going to leave us with a straight connect going all the way. Now here I'm going to select both of these sides and move them up front a bit so it kind of gives us that look. There we go. Now move it backwards so it's more or less in place where it should be. Okay. Alright, that works just fine. And now, let's see, with turbo smooth, it's slowly giving us that shape. It's gonna be even better once we give it the extra side. It's not gonna, it's not gonna collapse on itself like this, which is okay. So for now, we have that. We have this. Now here's the thing. When you use turbo smooth, you're gonna notice that we are losing quite a bit of volume in the blade here. So in order to fix that issue, we're gonna go over, and here I'm gonna manually select all of these, because if I go ring, it's not gonna select them. So manually click on select, add one extra edge, click it here, one more extra edge. Those two edges should help alleviate that problem with losing that volume. So now, once I put in the turbo smooth, you're gonna notice that I'm no longer losing that volume. It's trying to keep that volume going, which is exactly what I need. All right, so back to editing. Now, here's the thing with this blade. In the middle of the blade, it has these holes. It has 9 holes. So, in order to incorporate that into our design, we're gonna have to put in those 9 holes. So, here's how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna use Swift Loop, add one edge over here. I can use the quick slice, but I'm gonna go with the Swift Loop. Click in the middle where you want to have the hole being. Now, go with the scale, hold down Shift, and simply scale it inwards so it's a straight line. Now again, put in one more here, here, here. Basically in the middle where the holes are supposed to be, you just go ahead and put in one hole. And now one just at the end. Okay, so now since we already have this, I can go ahead, select all the middle vertices that we have here. So all the places that we want to have a hole, I'm going to select the vertices, and now I'm going to chamfer the vertices. And this is what happens. As soon as you start chamfering one vertex, it divides into 4 vertices. So I'm going to get it till about here, something like this. This should work. Click on OK. And now I just need to add in an extra bit of geometry to hold these holes, because as we mentioned in the previous videos, when you want to have a perfect round hole, you want to have at least 8 sides. So far we have 4. So in order to have 8 sides, we're going to need an extra bit of edges over here. So I'm going to go ahead and do something like this. I'm going to connect these two, and then manually just add in one extra edge in the middle. So connect, 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 one more. Again, I know this is a bit of a boring thing to watch, but still, it's a tedious work. Somebody has to do it. And there we go. Awesome. So now here's the thing. Since we already have this over here, what we want to do here is now cut in the edges that we need. So go from here, here, again here, here, and continue going across all of them. So like this. Don't worry about where you cut the middle vertex, because we're going to use the loop regularizer script that is going to help us get those perfect circles. So again, simply just cut in one wherever in the middle. As long as it's going to this side, you shouldn't have any problems. So like this, and like this, and up until here. Awesome. Now from the top side as well, you'll notice that wherever we cut, we are left with quads, which is exactly what we want. There we go. Again. I probably should have stopped the video and do this and come back, but then again, actually do dislike doing that, because then people may get lost in the way. And then I'm left with comments on YouTube asking me how I did something that I probably should have shown it in the video. Alright, for here, now of this part, I'm simply going to connect it to here and transfer it over to the middle here. So that's going to give us a bit more detail on this side as well. Awesome. Now, the rule of cutting is whenever you cut, select all of the vertices that you made, hit on the weld, give it a small threshold in case some vertices were cut close to each other, they're going to be welded. In this case, we have no problem, so no problem. Alright, now select all of these holes that we want here and hit delete. Now here's the thing, the loop regularizer doesn't work when you have a stack of modifiers. So I'm going to right click and convert this to an editable poly. Now hold down, select all the borders, right click and hit regularize. This is going to leave us with perfect round geometry here. So I'm going to select all of these guys. And now here's the interesting part about this knife. These holes are basically just inserted inside like this. So I'm going to hold down shift and move it inwards like this. And in here, in the blade, you have actually a hole in which these blades go. Now, the first time I actually tried to model this, I thought the holes were on the side and they were going to be like from one blade to the other, but it actually turned to be that all the holes are in the middle, and once we put in the twist, you're gonna notice what happens. So we take all of them and we inset them, or extrude them inwards. Select all of the ones at the top like this and chamfer them. Now the chamfer should be a very small amount because this is a very sharp turn with 2 edges, something like maybe something like this. This is gonna work. Alright, so now when we put a turbo smooth on our blade, we're gonna notice that here we have this happening. Now for this, everything looks fine. One of the things that kind of stands out for me, at least, is this minor detail. As we can see, the flow is not making this really rounded, and the reason is that these two guys should be a bit more to the back, like this. Maybe scale them out a bit so they make a better turn. So now, yeah, here we go. Now we have a perfect roundness here. Awesome. Okay. So we have this side done. Now what we have to do is transfer this detail to the 2 other blades, and here's how we're going to do this. First of all, I know that this blade has 3 sides, which is a big help, so I'm going to move my hierarchy, my pivot, and for this I'm going to position it at the tip of the knife, like exactly right here. Now we know that a full circle is 360 degrees, so we need 3 sides. That means we need 3 blades that are at 120 degrees distance. So I'm going to hold down Shift and drag out this for 120 degrees, like this. And I need 2 copies. So 2 copies at 120 degrees. And here is exactly what I get. As you can see, it's a pitch perfect blade. Awesome. So now what we need to do is make all of these 3 pieces attached together. Okay. Probably should have made this smaller. Alright, I'm gonna go Control Z a few more times. Alright, awesome. I'm gonna select these guys and move them inwards just a tiny bit so they are not intersecting with the other guys. Something like this. Okay, so again, Effect Pivot, put it in the center. Turn off Effect Pivot, rotate 120 degrees, 2 copies, perfect. And again, attach them all together. And now I want to select all of my vertices. So press Vertex, Control A to select all of them, or you can simply just drag out a selection box and hit the weld. Now, as you can see, with the smallest threshold, we had 1587, and we're left with 1519, which means all of the vertices that were touching from the cloning or the copying are basically 1 now. So this is leaving us with our blade like this. So now what we want to do is we need to give our blade, the edge blades, some sharpness. For example, we have the sharpness here on this edge, but we still have to give it our sharpness to our edges on the sides, so the knife can actually cut. So the way to do this is with a chamfer again. Now here's the problematic part a bit. This is gonna be a small, here we go. Let's give it 2 segments and a smaller chamfer amount. And now we just need to deal with this issue that we get over here, which is really not anything that's too complex. All we got to do is delete or control backspace on that and move this and put it upwards a bit. Now what we are left here is 4 diamond shapes, and as I said in the previous videos that were about modeling, diamonds are great when you want to have the geometry turn a corner. So here it's coming here and it's continuing over here. So let's see how this thing looks like with a turbo smooth. There we go. With even 3 iterations, we're gonna notice that now our blade is really starting to look exactly what we are seeing here. Alright, that's awesome. And now, the only thing that we're missing is to have the twist in the blade, which is really not too complex to do. We still have our pivot in the middle. So what we're gonna do here is simply go into the modifier tab, take our twist modifier, and here put an angle of 180 degrees. As soon as you do it like this, you're gonna notice our blade going up like this. Now, before I do this, now I just notice that I have a problem in my blade, and that is the disparity or the difference between the geometry density that we have on this side of the blade opposed to this side. So we need to give it a bit more edges here so it can deform correctly. So I'm gonna try to keep it more or less in line what we have on the other side. So I'm just using the, there we go. I'm using the Swift Loop option in case you didn't know. And with this, now we turn on the twist modifier, again 180 degrees angle. What? Okay. Turn on the twist, angle 180, and this is what we get. Here is our blade for a knife. Now, since this video has been going on for quite a while, I want to cut it short here, and in the next video we're going to continue building up the rest of the blade as well as the handle and the tip, and we'll see, maybe we're even going to make the front cover for our blade. So if you guys enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, as it does help a lot, and that would be it for now, and I'll see you guys over in the next video. Bye bye.